everyone, and welcome back to Arguably Speaking.
I'm Kiera.
I'm Sarah.
And welcome back to another episode.
Bow.
Happy morning, day, evening, night. I don't know. What time are you listening to this? We're not sure, but we're filming this during the day, so it's kind of morning for us.
Totally. And we bet you're happy, so, happy whatever time you're in right now.
Exactly. Wow. It's been a busy time. It's been kind of crazy, for me specifically, just jumping right into the catch up. This girl is officially graduated. Woohoo! So this past week has been kind of a whirlwind. I feel like even though I haven't actively had classes, it's been a lot of tying things up in little bows and trying to make sure they're done. A lot of exit interviews, a lot of class photos, a lot of desk cleanup and things like that. And so it's just been a lot of movement back and forth, and I feel like I've never felt so unorganized as I have in this week. It just felt like all of the plates are flying in the air and I'm desperately trying to catch them without them all falling. But it has all worked out. We had a little bit of family come in and a little bit of family not come in for my graduation just because of unforeseen circumstances, unforeseen pet sicknesses. So it's been a little bit of a crazy back and forth. My mom came in town and she was staying up in Bellevue because that's where her company was willing to put her up because that's where they're headquartered, and she was being a little sneaky by saying we should have a meeting around this time. Great. Also, coincidentally, if you're flying me up to Seattle, I have to take Friday off because my daughter is graduating. Wink, wink. So she got a free flight and a free hotel out of that, which was really nice. Unfortunately, that just meant she kind of had to stay wherever they were putting her up, which happened to be Bellevue, which is, 20 to 30 minutes based on traffic from where we live. And with my stepdad not being able to come in town, we didn't have an extra car. Mm-hmm. And so it was a little bit stressful with the back and forth. It ended up being all okay, but it was a weekend and a week full of moving parts. I can't even remember day to day. All I know is that graduation was on a Friday.
Right.
Graduation was on a Friday in the middle of the day, and every day leading up to that was chaos after chaos.
Well, you took pictures. I remember this. You took pictures on campus and you came out and we were going to eat lunch together, but it got kind of crazy and we were walking. Okay, I don't know how recently I talked about this on the podcast. I feel like I talked about it recently, but I don't know. Kiera and I got pooped on by a bird.
It was wild.
It was terrible. I was so upset. It was like a seagull and it was really high up, and so it just kind of splattered everywhere. There's still bird poop on my backpack in some places.
No.
It's so upsetting. I just haven't taken the time to look around diligently at it to get it off. But yeah, no, it was a bummer. And you were wearing your regalia, and
I wasn't, thankfully the regalia didn't really get anything on it. It was just my shoes that got a little bit. I dodged a lot of the bird poop, but this bird pooped a strange amount because not only did it hit me and Sarah, it hit the two people in front of us.
Yeah.
There were 4 people that were struck by this bird.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And made me mildly sad, so
we went to the bathroom, cleaned up a little bit, ate our lunch in a little bit of sadness, and we're like, ugh. Okay. That was just the predecessor to the following days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had to go and take pictures with my graduating class. Turned out there was not that many people there.
Oh.
And so we couldn't even really take pictures. I think we took 1 or 2 maybe of the whole class, and then we took a couple individual ones just cause, but it was not very formal. They're like, okay, we'll try to take a class picture actually at the ceremony. They didn't end up doing that because it was too hectic. But what did end up happening was that we got together and they gave us little graduation gifts. So that was nice. We got a little hat and some nice stickers and stuff, and just
Cute.
A good job for finishing. And when I picked that up, I guess in the day's hecticness, I lost my hood, which if you don't know, when you graduate with your master's, you get a special, it's kind of like a stole, but you wear it on your neck and it's fluffy and you're like, look, it's special wear for me graduating.
Totally.
And in that day, between like the pictures and the seagull and the graduation gift and the desk clean out that I had of my little studio space, I had lost it. I didn't realize till the next day, which happened to be graduation day. Additionally, when I was taking pictures, I realized that they didn't include a tassel in my little kit. So I had to go back to the bookstore and ask for a tassel. And it was just like all of these little things, one on top of another on top of another. Fast forward to the next day. And meanwhile, I'm entertaining family that is in town and trying to organize like where people are going to be. Unfortunately, like the Friday day, having graduation in the middle of the day is not really conducive to most people's schedules. So that morning, I wanted to use some of the machines that we have in the studio space before I lost access to them with my key card. So I woke up early and I got all gussied up and nice, like curled my hair, did my makeup, got all of the graduation regalia sorted, and could not find this hood. And I was like, no, this is the worst. So I called my friend who had helped me do some errands the day before, and I was like, can you check if it's in your car? I was retracing my steps. I was like, okay, the only place it could be is at school. Like, that's the only place I haven't checked. We gotta go try to find it. But before we did that, I was like, also, I need to make sure I have all of my laser cut material because I need to do this before I lose access to the machines that do that. So after I'd gotten all nice, I was going to the bus because I didn't want to have to worry about parking. I realized that I forget the material and I was like, shoot, the bus is here and I have to run back inside because I'm way early to this thing. Go back inside, grab the wood, go out. Obviously the next bus isn't coming for like an obscene amount of time, like 20 minutes or something. So I was like, fine, I'm just going to drive and I'm going to cross my fingers that I can find a parking spot in the free secret gravel lot that we have near our building.
Nice.
Thankfully, I do. I have to hover over this person until they leave for like 10 minutes, but they leave. As this is happening, my friend goes in and searches and she's like, I found it. The hood is here. But as I was driving down, I had, in my midst of trying to pick up the wood for laser cutting, wanted to change from my fancy shoes to my comfy shoes because I was doing so much running around. And so I put my comfy shoes on and then realized, oh my gosh, my fancy shoes are at home.
Oh no.
And so my friend, bless her heart, allows me, she's like, we're the same size. My shoes are fairly nice and go with your outfit. Do you want to use my shoes and I will use your shoes? Gives me the shoes off of her feet.
Oh my gosh.
Find
what
you a friend that will do that for you.
What a blessing. Yeah.
Literally, I was like, thank you so much. I've had such a stressful day and a stressful week and I really appreciate you. And it was very good. So that happened and we were able to laser cut all of the things that we needed to do. We had a quick lunch that we had brought and then we needed to rush to pick up Sarah so we could go to my graduation, which was not on campus for some reason.
Silly.
It was in the Seattle Center at one of the many buildings that they have nearby. And so we were stuck in a little bit of traffic and had to figure out parking. It all ended up working out, but my goodness. My goodness.
It was a lot. It was a lot of running around. And yeah, I mean, I was really glad that your mom got there because that place was really, really full once we got there. And your mom had saved seats for us and your friend too. So that was really nice. So we could all sit. It was, the setup of the place was weird. There were a lot of columns. And so we couldn't, like, see you fully walk across the stage without, like, you going in between these columns. And, like, trying to take pictures would have just been a little bit tough. And so we all just screamed as loud as we could and all of that.
Which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the speaker, interesting.
It was, the whole thing was, like, weirdly informal for what a formal occasion it felt like it should be.
Yeah.
And it was in, like, a place that we thought was going to feel super formal and then had the weird columns like you said. But how my college works is there's 5 departments. There's landscape architecture, there's planning, there's construction management, and there's real estate. So all kind of like built environment, like stuff to do with land, planning, and structures.
Yeah.
And every year they rotate what department is the keynote speaker. And this year it was construction management. And I will just let Sarah take it away from here for what she thought, because it was an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. So the background story on this man is that he worked in construction management for 30 years before he had his second career as a professor. And he came up, and the beginning of his speech was fine. Like, the cadence of every sentence was the same. It was like, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. So you're like, okay, I'm already kind of being, like, lulled into a stupor. But the most interesting part of this man's speech was that, these people are finishing a degree, probably excited to, like, use what they've learned. Yay. And he's going in and he's saying, like, hey, your degree, it's going to help you get that job, and you're going to be, like, in that job for the next 40 years of your life. And, hopefully you pick something that you enjoy, because you're going to be spending a majority of your time in it.
And everyone's like, okay, depressing, but
great.
Okay.
Like, glad that I will just never do anything fun again. I'm only going to work. And then it was like, the skills that you've earned in your degree will, like, get you hired, but what will get you fired is your lack of people skills.
Yeah, and your personality.
Literally. And it wasn't even like, what, like, will make you a valuable employee will be the people skills that you build. It was like, the thing that will get you fired is that you don't have them. And it was like, what the heck, dude? Like,
yeah, you're supposed to be inspiring, like, all of these graduates who
right.
have, it was a mixed undergraduate and graduate ceremony, but, like, all of these people who have worked for so many years to get these degrees.
Yeah, literally.
And you're just, like, a big downer.
Right. Well, and there was even a part in there where he was talking about his experience and stuff, and basically he said, like, you just have to have good people on your team, because if you have good people on your team, like, you can just tell them the goals that you have and they'll make it happen. And I was like, okay, what are you doing then?
Yeah.
Like,
that's
weird.
why he's in construction management.
Not construction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, regardless, the speech was pretty short, so that was nice. The graduation ceremony itself went by pretty zippy.
Which was great, because there were quite a lot of students for just my department.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Definitely.
But it was a bit unorganized, like, in terms of, they didn't have people, like, alphabetized or anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just had people go up in whatever order and, like, hand their name to the speaker. And they didn't have any, like, specific dress code.
Yeah.
So some people were, like, more formal than others. Some people didn't even have regalia, which is also fine. But it was not, like, it felt not really, like, super... It felt less special.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
And it felt like the planning was there, but not really. Mm-hmm. And I also think just because of the hecticness just to get there, it was like, a little bit of a relief that it was just over.
Yeah, that's fair. If I had one note for your college, it would be to give the graduates a, like, coat check, because there were a couple of people who are walking with purses in their hands. They're like backpacks, and it's like, these people probably just don't want to, like, set their stuff down. They might not have anyone to watch it for them.
Yeah.
And it was just a little silly to see someone walk across the stage wearing a backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure they wouldn't want that if they had the choice to, like, check it in somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's my little thing.
So, but it was still very cool, because after the graduation ceremony, we were right at the Space Needle.
That was cool.
So I got to take some fun pictures, at the Space Needle with the friends. And I had not only Sarah, but a couple other friends there. And it just felt nice to, like, feel done and, like, feel relieved. Like, oh, it's over.
Yeah.
It's finished.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've completed what we need to complete. And now we're just home free.
Exactly.
And then after that, it was we all went to dinner a little bit later. We actually had multiple stops in between.
We did a lot of stuff.
After the graduation, we came home.
We picked up tables and walked around your old building. Then we came home.
You're right.
Then we went to a grad party.
Yeah. We went to a little grad party that was hosted by my department. And it was little, there's a lot of small, normal gossip drama that was happening with that grad party, but it was fine, and it was a beautiful sunny day. They had tamales, and it was kind of potluck style, but it was good to, see people show face. And then we had a dinner reservation downtown, so we'd gone downtown, back north, back downtown. And there was a lot of moving around there as well. But if you know anything about the Seattle food scene, you'll know that the Pink Door is one of the more famous restaurants in downtown, very close to Pike Place Mall. And one of the reasons that it's notorious is not only because it has good food, that's, a little bit on the fancier side, but also because they have no sign that is denoting them as this restaurant. It's simply a door that arguably in the daylight doesn't look so pink.
It did not look super pink.
Yeah.
When there was sun on it.
In the evening, it was a lot more pink, but it was like a pastel pink. Still at that. You open it in, you go down these stairs, and then the restaurant kind of opens up. And then it's a pretty normal sized restaurant and has all of the restaurant things that you would consider.
It was a very pretty restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had a pretty good view of the marketplace and then the water. But we had got in and we were all like kind of hungry but not starving because we had just come from the mini grad party where they had tamales and stuff. But we were meeting some of my extended family, and the dinner itself was very good. We were just all very full. And then they kept bringing us bread.
Yeah. Well, because we were in that restaurant for like 4 or 5 hours.
A very long time.
Yeah.
It took almost way too long, but that was also partially our fault because we kind of delayed when we ordered, and then they came out, and then we had small talk afterwards.
Yeah. It was very nice. It was nice, especially for me, because I didn't know these people, and so it was like easy chatting.
Yeah. There was a lot of material there.
That was really nice, and the food was really delicious.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was good.
I was very happy to be there. It was pretty. We all looked pretty. It's always nice to go to a fancy restaurant and feel like you're the right amount of fancy.
We were on the level that needed to be.
Yeah, that's really nice.
But that was my long catch up for graduation. Hopefully I emphasized how hectic it was. It was good but hectic, and really happy that went out and did some special things, but also a little bit happy that it is currently over.
Yeah, understandably so.
Totally.
It really harkened me back to when in high school, Kiera and I loved graduation parties.
Yeah,
and so we would
did.
sit down with all of our Facebook invites, and we went to a school in a small town, and so we could go to quite a few because people lived pretty near to the school.
Like maybe 3 to 4 a day if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and you'd like budget it out in terms of like, okay, we want to get to this person's party at the beginning because they are going to have really good food, so that'll run out, and then we want to like end at this person's party because people are probably going to hang out pretty late afterwards.
Yeah.
And so going to like the graduation and then to the grad party thing and then out to dinner felt very much like high school us running around trying to cram everything in as much as we can. And it made me happy.
It was a busy day. Oh, you know what we also did? We forgot, right after graduation, we went to a little happy hour.
Oh, yeah, we did.
With my mom and a couple of friends, which was actually very nice. It was a beautiful day, and we got to sit outside at this place that had a wine bar, like, on tap.
Yeah.
And you swiped your card, and then it did a certain amount of ounces, and it would record how much you had drinking, and then at the end you would pay for it. But it was super cute, and it was nice little... We also had a couple snacks there. So we just were eating and drinking the whole day.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was a good day. It was a very good day. But also very exhausting. I will say, I came back home after that dinner and just zonked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I stayed over at my mom's place in Bellevue so I wouldn't have to shuttle yet again over before I took her to the airport the next day. And... thankfully, her company they got like a little suite for her. So there was like bed, couch, all the things.
Nice.
And it was in a really nice hotel. But my head hit the bed and I was out.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can believe it.
I was out. I was like, this is great. And they had a really nice shower.
Amazing.
I was like, luxury right here.
That's so fun.
Luxury. But, that was like the big event of the weekend, and it was multiple events encompassing this big event.
Totally.
Additionally, are there any other small things that you want to get into before we get into our main topic for this week?
I don't believe I have anything that's coming to mind.
That's great. I think we will then move on to our main topic, which, speaking of finally ending my personal schooling days, my college days, I really wanted to take it back to the heart and soul of college times. Fraternities and sororities.
Oh, we had a request for this after one of our first episodes, because you talked a little bit about getting matched with your big in your sorority, and someone was like, wow, sororities and fraternities are so foreign to me, like, I just want to know more.
Yeah.
And so we were like, you know, scratching our head for more ideas in terms of podcast episode topics, and we landed on sororities and fraternities. So I have a couple of questions that I have written out to ask you because I'm intrigued, but I think that the first thing that you should do is tell us a little bit about what you thought of sororities before you were in one.
Yes. Okay. So it should be noted that I was never one of the people that was super excited about being in Greek life. I don't think I even really knew what it was until maybe like my senior year of high school, or like I knew of it, but I didn't actually know what they did. They were just kind of this entity.
Yeah.
And I, as one does in our age, was going through the YouTubes and trying to find like what to prepare for college. And some of these YouTubers were also in sororities, and they're like, watch me get ready for like sorority recruitment or something like this, or like what you should know going into your first year of college. And so I'd be clicking on these videos and watching these videos, and it was these girls like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to like have this group of friends and to meet people. And I'm like, wow, it seems very interesting. It also seems fun. Like all of the events that they're talking about are like themed parties. Your girl loves a themed event.
She does.
And, you know, they would go on these outings and they would go on little trips together, and it just seemed like, you know, beyond what you see in the media of like crazy parties and like drinking and drugs and whatever and hazing, it seemed like actually a fun place. And I then started thinking like, oh, maybe I should join one, or at least try it out. Every school is very different with how their Greek life is run, and there's Pan-Hellenic. I'm speaking mostly for like sororities and fraternities, the IFC, Interfraternity Council. So those are the two like national big sororities and fraternities that you'll see on Greek Row at most campuses.
Yeah.
And then you have the professional sororities and fraternities that are, you know, for engineering, or they're for architecture, etc. They're, you know, major specific. And then you also have the cultural sororities and fraternities that are for people who might be Chinese or people who might be Latino, etc. And I was in a Pan-Hellenic sorority. So that's like one of the big ones where they have, they called them at my school mega chapters, because the school was so large and the Greek life was so large that we had easily like 300 plus people per sorority.
Wow.
The fraternities are smaller, but there are a lot more fraternities. So you might have like 50 to 75 guys, but there's 20 to 30 of them, whereas there was 13 sororities.
That's wild.
Yeah. So they were a big thing. And at my school specifically, at the University of Arizona, they were large.
Huge.
Yeah. It wasn't quite the South. I think the South has like a very, very big Greek life thing, and it's something that, if you don't know what a legacy is, it's basically when your mother or your grandmother, aunts, cousins, someone else in your family, your like related family, has gone there and been in that one, and then you have a leg up through recruitment.
Yeah.
So going in, before I had watched those videos, I kind of had the same stereotypes that everybody else did, like, sororities, fraternities, they're like just for people who are of a certain socioeconomic bracket who like to like party and, you know, be friends. Like a big stereotype is like, you're buying your friends. But then as I was watching these things, I was like, actually this seems like really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
If I hate it, I can always just drop out and like no harm, no foul. Then going into it, I had a overall positive experience, I think. And that's definitely not the same for everyone. But I think that 85% of Greek life is normal things. Like, you just are people with shared interests, and maybe that shared interest just happens to be like socialization.
Yeah.
And, like, wanting to meet new people.
Fair.
And doing fun events. And then 15% of it is really weird.
Yeah, okay. Let's
like,
talk about that 15%.
That 15% is, yeah, weird.
Yeah.
There are some things that I am bound by sisterhood to not reveal.
Right.
But I will do what I can, and maybe try to blind item some things.
Okay, nice. Do you have anything in particular that you want to share, or should we get into my questions?
We can get into questions. I think we should start at the recruitment process.
Okay.
If you have questions about that first.
My first question was generally, like, how does rushing for a sorority, like, work? What is the, like, schedule of events? Do you all have to wear the same clothes, or does it just turn out that way?
Okay, so there's multiple parts to recruitment. Again, it's very different for different schools. Some people have multi-week long recruitment processes. My school, when I was going, just had 1 week. I think they've changed it now since COVID, because COVID changed a lot about recruitment.
Yeah.
And then you have them over like multiple weekends instead of during a whole week. Ours was the first week before school started.
Okay.
And so you would come to campus early, you would move in early, and do all of your stuff before school started. So on the first day, you were already like in a house.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Some other schools do winter recruitment.
Oh.
So you do a full semester or quarter of school before you join.
Mm-hmm.
And then some are just like very lax and like they're very small. It's like informal. There's different types of recruitment, but I'm going to go over formal recruitment, which we are required to call it recruitment and not rush.
Really?
There are a lot of weird semantic things, like verbal things that you have to call things, because there is so much negativity surrounding Greek life, and not all of it is unfounded. Some of it is just like perpetuation of media stuff, but a lot of it is, you know, hazing is a big thing, and like people have died from hazing. It is really bad, and at some campuses and some chapters it's worse than others.
Mm-hmm.
I was really lucky, and I also sought out a place that did not haze.
Yeah.
I don't know, fraternities are very, very bad about hazing.
Yeah.
But sororities are more chill in that regard, I guess.
Okay.
At least at my school.
Interesting.
They are not more chill about the whole recruitment process.
Yeah.
In general.
Tell me about
There
it.
are 4 stages. So you have set 1, set 2, set 3, and preference.
Okay.
So set 1 for us was meet the houses. You go to every single house over a 2-day period, and you line up. You have certain groups that you're in. There's like 40 people in your group. You line up alphabetically, and then they have timed starts. And when that time starts, they open the doors, and just like you've seen on social media, they start their door song. They start singing to you.
Okay, that was another one of my questions, is that, like, for recruitment, I've seen videos of people, like, having a song, or even, like, everybody learns the same dance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's different. I will try to do, like, as general as I can, but on the recruitee side, so we call them PNMs, potential new members.
Oh,
they're not pledges.
Okay.
They're potential new members.
Interesting.
And another verbiage thing that we can't do.
Right.
And then you have the recruiters, who are the girls that are actively in the sorority.
Yeah.
And so at, like, 11:57, they open the doors, and they have it timed out. So you meet many, many houses. You get your schedule in the morning, and you also start very early.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. They were saying that your attire will get more and more formal as the week goes on. Set 1 will be fairly casual. Set 2, you'll dress up a little bit more. Set 3 is fairly formal. And preference is, like, the most formal, because that's where we do our ceremony, and we, like, say, like, we are inviting you to preference because we know the potential is there, and blah, blah, blah. We want you in the sisterhood. All of the things that are very stereotypical.
Right.
And so for set 1, I go in with, like, some nice shorts, not jean shorts, but nice shorts.
Right. Because you said more casual.
More casual, and, like, a nicer top. I walk in, and that is not the dress code. Everybody's in their cute little mini skirts, and they have everything curled or straightened, and like all of the makeup and like all of the shoes. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm in over my head. It's 6 a.m.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
We're starting the day early. And you are taken around by your recruitment counselor. So every group gets a recruitment counselor or two that are helping you navigate your day. If you are late to a certain event, that's what they call each time you're meeting a house. Or sometimes they have informational, like education, what sororities are about times. If you're late or miss anyone, you can be dropped from recruitment. If you talk badly about other sororities, you can be dropped from recruitment. Like, at any time, they can release you, I guess.
Wow.
And that means you're no longer eligible to be part of the sorority. There's so many rules, and they make it feel very intense.
Yeah.
It feels very, like, cult-like.
Yeah. Okay, question.
Yeah.
Is the recruitment counselor part of a sorority?
Yes, but they have to unaffiliate for that week. So you cannot know what sorority they are. A lot of them change the spelling of their names. They just like if their name is Claire, they'll spell it with an I instead of an E at the end or something. Or like put an extra letter in so you can't find their Instagram handles and stuff like that. They won't reveal their last names because they're supposed to be completely disaffiliated from their chapter, and they also serve as like a pseudo mentor. So they'll say, hey, like if you're ever feeling stressed or not sure where you want to choose, let us know and we can talk to you about it. But they were doing crazy hours. They'd stay up so late matching people, and then they wake up early with us to get us like started for the day.
Wow.
Yeah. And so set one, very simple in terms of just meeting them. You go into a house. They open the doors. They say, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our song. Please join our chapter. We're happy you're here. Whatever. They have different songs, but that was just like...
That was amazing. No, thank you for doing
something
that.
off the top of my
That was
head.
great.
And then they go, hi, Sarah. Welcome to Alpha, Alpha, Alpha. We are so happy you're here. Come on in.
Yeah.
And while people are like clapping in the background, and then one by one you're invited inside the house.
Wow.
And then they have all of these seats.
Do they say all of your names?
One by one.
Wow.
Yes, and because they are all strategically matched to you. And on the backhand side, on the recruitment side, they have bump groups. That's what they call them. So there's like 4 or 5 people to a group. And once you get inside and you're talking to your first group, someone will come to your recruiter, the person you're talking to, like, hi, how's it going? Oh my gosh. Hi, Alice. I was just talking to Kiera, and we were discussing how she loved volleyball in high school and what a great inspiration that has been for team building and why she wanted to find a sorority. I would love if you talked to this girl because she has a lot of the same interests. And then they would do a transition. So the girl that you were talking to would leave and the new girl would come in, and then you'd have to start over. This is me. This is my elevator pitch. I'm so great. I'm so wonderful. You should accept me. I'm good. And they would do that maybe 3 times. So you would talk to 3, maybe 4 different girls in like 45 minutes.
That sounds exhausting.
It was exhausting. And you're visiting 13 houses.
Jeez Louise.
In the first 2 days.
Yeah.
Voices are raw, you're exhausted, and you've woken up so early. And some of the sets were late. Like my latest set was at 10 p.m. because we had a freak monsoon happen, which delayed our times. So I think the latest one was usually like 8 or 9 p.m., but it delayed our time. We had to sit outside. You cannot go into the house until you're invited in. Like, for bathrooms, it's very against the rules to have potential new members and recruiters see each other or have any interaction. They're trying to quote limit any
like bias
yeah, that's happening. And so after that happens on the second day, and you've done this a million times, you've screamed your elevator pitch and why you're such an amazing person and have all these interests, and also trying to suss out, like, are these girls like nice?
Are they fake nice?
Are they fake nice? Do they have any interest? Because there are different like general personalities. While I think the whole hierarchy of sororities, I'd love to say, oh, it's not real. The social actuality of that is completely, real. Like, people think sororities are better than others, and have different visions of them, but also you can kind of just tell personalities are different because birds of a feather, you know, kind of flock together.
Okay.
And that varies widely from school to school. But after you do that, you have your selection process. And ours was digitized a little bit. So you, on the first day, I think could cut down to 9 or 7 from the 13. And you picked basically your top 9. It was all listed as number 1. Mm-hmm. And then everything else was listed as like 2, 3, 4 that wasn't in that top 9.
Gotcha.
And then you sent it in. But how the matching process works is that all of the girls rank you as well. Wow. Every single girl that you've talked to gives you a number score. And some chapters, they go one by one and like talk about the girls, which is insane.
How do you remember
so
people?
Many.
Yeah.
You have to take notes in between sets. That's like wild. I had an app on my side when I was a recruiter where I would write down notes. I was like, I talked to this girl and like she seems great in this, but like doesn't really have like a great GPA. However, I still think she'd be great because there were GPA requirements.
Wow.
So you had to usually have above a 2.5, which isn't super high.
Yeah.
But some chapters have higher grade point averages, like 3.0, which is like all Bs.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, significant. And then the next day you open up your app and they release all of the matches at the same time to everybody, and you see which sororities you got back.
That's terrifying.
Because both you and the sorority have to agree. Like you want to see each other.
What if like, so you're picking 9 out of 13. What if you only get like 5 or 6 back?
Then you only go to 5 or 6.
Wow.
So there are people who don't match into houses. Wow. And it's like really rough and like sad because you're like, why did nobody want me?
Right.
And it's just like a really toxic way to get people to join an organization. Because it feels like super exclusive. There are
that's part of the draw, kind of, is that it's exclusive.
It's a system built on exclusivity, which I think there's a lot of issues with. Simply. But you do that. I think I got 7 houses back. Okay. So I was like, okay, that's still a good amount. Yeah. And for us, set 2 was all about philanthropy. So every sorority and fraternity has a philanthropy that they support. And they're all actually very good causes. Ours specifically was domestic violence awareness.
Cool.
And we partnered with like a local nonprofit. We would do fundraisers for them. We would have some like supply drives. Domestic violence is a little bit of a harder topic because you can't directly like volunteer because these are actual victims who like need more than college age kids students, to help them through things. Right. But we actually were really active with them, and that was like one of the many good things that came from it is we were raising like in these fundraisers tens of thousands of dollars to donate. Wow. Which is wild. Yeah. Is why so many people do see like good things in sororities. Yeah. But you do like, so like, why is philanthropy so good for you? It's the same thing. They have different door songs. So they have entrance and exit songs as well. I think they've stopped this a little bit because it's gone on social media and been such a thing, and they're like, this is crazy. Yeah. So they don't do them as much anymore. But when I was going through recruitment, your entrance song was different than your exit song. And as you're exiting, you one by one go out again. And you have to like keep watching until they shut the doors, and then you're good. Wow.
What if you look away?
It's okay. They're not gonna notice, but you can't like leave, and you have to put your phone in a bag and put it in like a place to store it because you can't bring your phones inside at all either. Right. Because they don't want you like photographing the house or filming the process at all. Funny. And it gets smaller and smaller. Set 2, I feel like, was a little bit more chill because you've gotten the ropes of it. They show you a presentation about the philanthropy. And then you have 2 days of it. But since people have, like, they get back certain numbers of houses, your days could be really spread out, really condensed. You might only go to 1 day. I don't know how they organize the schedule for, like, 1,600 or 1,700 people. I think for me it was like 1,700 people, and it just grows. Yeah. Like somehow they do it and organize it in that time. But it is set 2 is more chill because you still have the same number of days but less houses to go to.
Nice.
And then you narrow it down to 6 for set 3.
Okay.
And set 3...
What did you wear for set 2?
Oh, set 2, I think I wore, like, skater skirt, like a short skirt.
Cute.
Skater skirt / just something nicer, and then, like, a nice top that went with it. I wasn't quite on the dresses yet.
Nice.
And still people were, like, way outdressing me. I was not the best dressed, and mostly because I just didn't know and didn't have that kind of wardrobe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. For the recruiters, you have to be what they call 3 out of 3. At least that's what they called it in my sorority. And you had to wear, like, hair done, makeup done, and outfit. That's 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
And after post-recruitment, you get ready for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And for pre-recruitment, when you're practicing and stuff, they'll say, okay, you only have to be 1 out of 3 today. Okay, you have to be 2 out of 3 today. Okay. But you get to choose what those 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3 are.
So you can do your hair in the outfit, or you could do your makeup in the outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when you're getting close, it's like, okay, you have to be 3 out of 3. And recruitment practices are mostly just the circuits that you're figuring out for your bump groups on the recruiter side, and like you're learning the door songs and you're learning how to bring someone in. Like the recruitee or the P&M has to always be on your right side when you enter, and then on the exit they always have to be on your left side so you don't hit people. There's so many people in this small area.
Yeah.
And for the houses, they like redecorate them all, so we were renting furniture and drapes and stuff, so the house looked fancier than it did.
That's wild.
And it was wild, absolutely insane. But I'll go over set 3 was like house tour day.
Okay.
So you narrow down to 6. You have the same selection process. You get your people back, and then you are actively having someone show you like, this is our living quarters. I was lucky I chose a sorority that had actual rooms, but a lot of sororities have these things called sleeping porches.
Oh my gosh. So my grandfather went to the same university as you, and his fraternity had sleeping porches.
And if you don't know what sleeping porches are, essentially it's these large rooms that have all these twin size beds. They're like bunk beds, and that's where everyone sleeps. And then they have all these really nice common areas, but
Yeah.
like there are no alarms allowed, and I think you can do silent alarms, but nothing with a sound. And then
How do you wake up in the morning?
you have a silent alarm, or how they used to do it in the olden days, at least as the new members, that was one of their like duties for hazing, is like they
Waking
had
people
to
up?
wake people up. They had to be the alarm clock
Wow.
and keep time, and basically, okay,
That's
Ashley needs to
hysterical.
wake up at this time. Joanna needs to wake up at this
That's
time.
hysterical.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was wild, but I was very, very happy that I chose a sorority. This was part of the reason for choosing them, that had normal rooms that were just kind of dorm style rooms. At a lot of schools, they required that you live in the house for a year. At my school, there were way too many people, so they didn't require that, and it was actually like very hard to live in the house. There was big competition. You could get positive points and stuff. So I'll go into preference,
If you
and then
make
I'll
someone
move past
laugh
that.
twice in a day, you get a positive point.
I'll get into it in a second. It's not like that exactly, but for preference, everyone gets the most gussied up. And
What did you wear for set 3, and what did you wear for preference?
set 3, I wore like more of a sundress, and then for preference, I wore like a formal dress.
Pretty.
And it was nice, I curled my hair. Set 3, I picked my top 2 houses, and I got one of the 2 of them back, and then I got a different house that I didn't think I was gonna get back, because even if you put that you don't want to see them, if they say you did want to see them and your other top preference didn't want to see you, you would see the house that wanted to see you.
Oh, yeah.
So they have more power over the potential new members all the time. But preference, like every house has a very specific preference ritual. Everyone has a specific flower, and you're like given a flower to hold to feel like you're part of the sisterhood. But as you're leaving, you have to put the flower back. You can't bring anything in or take anything out of the house. If you do, you can be dropped from recruitment. pretty much for any reason you can be dropped from recruitment.
What flowers?
For different sororities, they have like a special flower. Some of them are like roses, like a rose or a white rose. They're usually colored, or like a red carnation, or like a pink chrysanthemum.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's like the flower they give. Seniors give speeches about how great the sorority was to them, and you kind of call it a day.
Okay.
But after you do that, you have your final selection, and you have to sign like a contract basically saying like, if I don't get selected, I won't try to do the informal recruitment process, which is a lot more chill. It's like a single interview. I have to wait a full year before I try again.
Wow.
And then you get match day, bid day. We came to the big arena. You get your manila envelope and you open it up to see if there's anything there. And like everyone who's there gets matched. You get a call the night before or like the morning
if you shouldn't come to
if
the
you
stadium.
shouldn't come to the
Oh
stadium.
my God.
And there's nothing there for you. But people open it up and it's not always their first choice, but that's the house that they're matched with, and that's the house that you have to go to.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And
you
then
can't switch houses.
you cannot switch houses. That's a big no-no. So I think maybe some schools they have other stipulations, and there's always exceptions. But after that, you have bid day, which is basically a big party. You get on these buses, they drive you to a venue. They have a bid buddy, and so they hold up your name.
Is this just your sorority, or is
This is
all
just
of
your
them?
sorority,
Okay, nice.
but every sorority has it. They're all at different places.
Gotcha.
And then you run home. And as the bus comes out, they drop you off, and you like run to your place, and like you're like, oh my gosh, we're home. And they have shirts for you, and they have little sign that says your name, and you hang out with your bid buddy, and they're supposed to like take you out and show you how the sorority is, and blah blah blah. And that is when you officially start your like new member process, because you haven't been initiated yet. Yes.
So you're not a potential new member, you're just a new member.
Now you're a new member. And then you have to do some work. You have new member meetings every week.
Wow.
In addition to chapter. So chapter happens every Monday.
Right.
And they give you updates. You have an executive board that like says, okay, we have a philanthropy event. So everybody needs to be at this day on this time, and for this many hours to sell pizza.
Okay.
And all of the proceeds are gonna go for a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool. And then there's all of these things that happen at chapter.
I have a small comment that I was going to bring in, and then I forgot about it for a second. I was talking with one of my relatives about medical school and residencies and things like that. And the residency process is exactly like preference day for a sorority. And I never knew that. It's like you put out like your top 3 preferences to these like different hospitals and things like that, and like you choose them, and then they have to choose you, and if they don't choose you, then you're just not a resident.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is wild.
And
I was like, no way.
That's like way higher stakes, but it still feels like
yeah,
horrible.
No, literally.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know, and there's like so much at stake, and so you're like, you want to choose the right place, but you don't want to like, I don't know. It's just very interesting.
And you don't have the power, really.
Yeah,
like you
right.
can say what you want, but you don't have the power at the end of the day.
None of it.
Yeah.
Wild.
Super wild.
Anyways, okay, so you're doing chapter, and then you're also doing new member
meetings, which goes over the history, and you learn like the Greek alphabet, and you learn like the history of your specific chapter, who the founding members were, and what their hobbies were. Not really their hobbies, but like why they decided to fund it. A lot of them were like, I think there was one that was originally like a Jewish sorority and then became Pan-Hellenic, and there were ones that were originally engineering and became Pan-Hellenic. Ours was like musically inclined. And so they were all of these like societies before they were fraternities and sororities. But once you do a 2-month new member period, you take a test. And if you don't pass the test, like they say, like you don't get in, but pretty much you take it until you pass. I think you have to get like 80%, and you've studied, like you have the new member meetings. Pretty much you won't fail unless you're actively like trying to fail.
Yeah,
and you
that's
can
funny.
also drop at any time before then and not pay the member fees, because there is like a fee to be in sororities. For me, it was actually cheaper to be in a sorority than it was to buy a meal plan. Our sorority had like a private chef that would make our food, and so I dropped my meal plan, and all of the money plus a little bit went to the sorority. Like, I was able to buy the meal plan and pay for dues with like a fraction of what the actual college meal plan cost.
Yeah.
And so that set me up great.
Well,
I was
that
like,
food was good food.
it was good.
I visited Kiera once, and she talked about the food sometimes, and I was like, dang, okay.
Yeah.
Private chef.
It was nice.
Yeah. Super nice.
But then you get in, and then you're officially a member, and you have these positive points, and positive points essentially are added when you go to any specific event. So if you go to chapter, you get positive points. If you go to a new member meeting, you get positive points. If you do an extra favor for someone, like if you pick up supplies, you get positive points.
Oh.
And those all contribute to you being able to be eligible to go to certain events or have certain priority for housing. So if you want to live in the house, you have to get more positive points. The more positive points you have, the higher up you like are in priority for getting a room.
Cool.
Which is pretty good system.
Yeah, if you do more for the sorority, you get to be able to do like
perks.
More of the stuff that you want. Yeah.
But you also get fined for missing stuff. If you miss chapter, $25. If you miss a philanthropy event, $100.
Wow.
And what they would do for chapters, every minute you were late, you owed $1. So it was like, you don't be late or just don't come. And I think you got like one freebie. It was a little bit less like intense as I'm saying, but it was still pretty bad. Like, there was pretty high cost to missing stuff.
Yeah.
And not everything was mandatory by any means, but there was enough mandatory stuff that you were like,
that's wild.
This could add up if I'm missing things.
If someone told the members of my Frisbee team that we had to pay money if we were late, we would have gotten a lot more done at practice.
Yeah. Well, people were there. I mean? But for
it's
chapter,
wild.
You had to dress up for chapter. And you also, like, we had themed nights sometimes, which were informal. You could have informal chapter. It was weird. But yeah, after you're a full member and you passed your thing, you have to go through initiation. Now, this is where I have to be a little bit tight-lipped, and I will try to just do it as generally as I can, but every single sorority has specific initiation rituals, and they're not as scary as they sound. Like, they have to read out of this old book about something, and, like, they sing a song. We did dress up in white robes and have flower crowns bestowed upon us.
Nice.
As well as like
feels
pins.
very midsummer.
Feels very midsummer and like very a little culty. But it wasn't like scary. Like, nobody was like, you know, shutting all the lights off and making us like stand naked in a candlelit room or anything.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't really happening. It was more just like, okay, we kind of have to go through the motions. For some reason it's tradition, and we do the thing.
Makes it feel special.
It was like 3 hours long though, which was a really long time, and you are standing for those 3 hours. And girls be bad at locking their knees. You can't lock your knees for that long.
Did someone faint?
People faint frequently in initiation. It's kind of a thing. Funny. And also people faint frequently during recruitment because it's such a long process, and it's really hot in Arizona. They gave us water bottles to start out with, and like there were water bottle refill stations everywhere, but I think my first day they had to call 27 ambulances.
That's crazy.
Because there were so many out-of-state students who didn't know how to live in the heat and drink that much water.
Wow.
So they were just fainting.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other things, but I want you to be able to answer or ask any questions.
I have a question, and it goes back a little bit more towards recruitment, because I knew that this was a thing that the recruiters, I believe, had to, like, adhere to at, like, the college I went to, and also maybe also the potential new member people. But are there rules about dating / talking to boys in fraternities during recruitment?
Technically, there are rules about... There's rules about partying. Like, it's technically a completely dry week. You're not supposed to go out anywhere. You're also not really supposed to, you know, you're not supposed to do anything that could reflect badly on you or the sorority.
Okay.
Or I guess the fraternities too. But there weren't like strict rules about dating. Also, the big fraternity recruitment happened to be in the spring, while they had like a smaller fall recruitment.
Gotcha.
And so it wasn't as big of a deal. It's more like, don't go partying or don't get caught partying, because if you did, dropped.
Dang.
Like, you could be dropped.
Yeah.
There's not so many rules about dating, and also they can't really like do too much. I think it was probably a lot more strict back in the days, where there was just like no rules at all, and they could get away with literally murder. Which is not great. But nowadays they have to be a little bit more subdued,
be more chill,
and like be more chill, allow more things to fly.
Fair.
And throughout your time as a member, you have to go to the events, but you also have to stay within a good standing of the sorority. So we had different social media monitors, and they wouldn't let you post anything with alcohol in your hand if you were underage, or they wouldn't let you post anything that had super bad Photoshop. They'd have an Instagram account that wrote like, okay, like you have to take this down, and you'd have to take down posts and stuff. So things were like a little bit weirdly monitored, which was very
online
strange.
presence.
Online
That's so
presence. And they had obviously cliques with inside the sorority, but that's with anything.
No, for sure. Any social group where you're seeing people a lot of times, like someone's gonna get mad at someone else, and then the group's gonna divide a little bit, and you're gonna have like us versus them, but also like some of us like some of them, but like, you know.
Yeah. And there's also with how big the chapters were, like 300 people, you don't have to get along with everyone, because you're simply not going to see everyone.
So true.
There's no way. And so you just need to find your group of people, and you'll be okay. That's why there's the whole like, trust the process, like you're gonna find your sisterhood in your forever home. And like, while I don't necessarily buy into that completely, I'm like, statistically there's no way you're not going to find at least one friend with this huge pool of people, and also so many people that are like just really trying to find friends.
Right.
And while I do have a lot of criticism over the whole fraternity and sorority system as a whole, I still really enjoyed like the big and little process, which, oh my gosh, I didn't even get into.
Yeah.
And we don't have so much time for it, but it's very similar, a mini recruitment of sorts, where you're meeting these girls, you're getting matched up with people who are sisters that are older than you in the sorority, and you're kind of going on mini dates with them, and then at the end you get matched. They have a reveal ceremony for us. We like wrapped people up in wrapping paper, and you unwrap them. Some people have like boxes, and you jump out of the box, and then they give you a bunch of gifts throughout the week, which is nice. And then you join this big family of your big, and your big has a big, so that's your grand big, and your big's grand big has a big, so that's your great grand big. But maybe your big has two littles, and so now you're twins. And your big also had a twin, so then you have an aunt.
That's
and
cute.
You have cousins.
Aww.
And it is kind of fun in that sense, because you always are connected to people. It's cute, but it's also a little creepy, and it's a weird way to describe people. Like my big, my grand big, and you're like, huh?
And this person's like maybe 2 or 3 years older than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's very funny.
But the biggest highlights for me, the food. Amazing. Living in the house, I lived in the house for a year. It was over COVID. So that was wild. Yeah. And I had already signed the lease, and it was just like, whoa, we're here. But we did a very good job of like making sure the house was very clean. Like we had maybe
at least you weren't locked up alone.
Exactly. And we had isolated people who would go and leave the house if they got sick. But living in the house was a whole other can of worms, and living with that many women is something that I've done and will probably never do again.
There you go.
But still very nice to live with people where there's always something happening.
Yeah.
And that was like a great source of community for me, to feel like I was supported. And then also, like, I actually did have a lot of networking opportunities. I got an internship from one of my sorority sisters, based on like, oh, my dad works in this field, like I'm sure I could get you an interview. And then I did the interview, and got an internship from that, and
That's great.
yeah, was able to meet a lot of really great people. I still talk to a lot of them, and like did have genuine friendships. A lot of the drawbacks were like the weird like process to get in, the high cost to like missing events, and like it was very hard to drop, and like if you wanted to, there's a kind of a high exit cost, maybe not necessarily monetarily, but like friendship wise, socially it was kind of like weird. And the whole leadership with the executive board and how things were run,
interesting,
very shifty.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff's happening behind closed doors that people don't know, and like I probably don't even fully know. But if you are wanting to find community for the sake of just like knowing people socially, it's a good avenue to do that. Do I think it's financially feasible for a lot of people? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do I think that there are ways to make it financially feasible if you're getting things from the sorority, like if you're getting meals, if you're getting food? Yes.
Yeah.
And there are scholarships for a lot of sororities that people don't know about.
Cool.
I received some while I was in it.
Nice.
So
very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some silver linings, but that's not to say that sororities and fraternities are net good. I definitely wouldn't say that, having been in one.
Fair. Well, and like there are different like ways that people are going to meet people in college, and for some it's a sorority, for some of it's a sports club, you know?
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want to run around twice a week every week, you know, or more. Maybe like a lot of people I knew did like volunteering clubs that taught children different
skills,
like knowledge areas, you know? So like I don't really like teaching children unless I'm getting paid, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not gonna do engineers like ambassadors, you know? I'm not gonna teach kids engineering.
Or so, maybe you join a tour group and you're like a tour group on
Give
campus.
campus tours.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's a lot of avenues to find community, and like Greek life is definitely not the only one.
Yeah, totally.
But definitely one that's unique to the American
Super
school
interesting
system.
to understand.
And it has a lot of small things. I'm sure there's way more that I didn't go over, and sorry, I've been talking most of this episode.
I love it.
But
I'm so intrigued.
It's just a wild network and a wild organization that exists. And there's many movements to kind of cancel and stop doing Greek life.
Yeah.
Again, for valid reasons, because they have caused lots of damage. But I don't think that they're all bad completely.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my final say.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, anyways, we gotta wrap this up because we got some plans for the rest of the afternoon. You'll hear it in our next catch-up, I'm sure.
Definitely.
We post our episodes every Wednesday to our YouTube and our Spotify. You can find us. It's just Arguably Space Speaking on each of those platforms. You can also find us on Instagram. We post sometimes. We're really cute. And also, sometimes we post polls. And you can fill out a poll. I posted a poll asking for questions about sororities and fraternities. And we got 3 wonderful questions.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Please definitely participate, engage with us. You can send us any thoughts that you had about the episode to our Gmail. And hey, share this episode with someone that you know who is in a fraternity or sorority. Share this with someone who might be looking at joining a fraternity or sorority.
And feel free to reach out with questions. I could talk for an endless amount of time about it because it is so unique of an experience to anything else I've ever been a part of in my whole life. Slightly culty, but culty in an okay way?
Yeah.
Question mark.
For sure.
Big question mark.
Kiera hasn't killed anyone.
Exactly. But we're really happy that you are here, and glad that you are listening. And we will see you next time on
Arguably Speaking. Bye!